Hi ho ho, it's me, Wes Ball, back at it again with a new episode of the Boy Time Podcast, and as always, I'm joined by Babby. Yeah, Paul's gone. I'm not sure when he's going to be back. He is taking a leave of absence, a period, maybe. We'll see.
Amazing.
His parents had a child, so he's been helping out looking after them. So, not sure. I guess they've been having him come in on the days that we record a podcast, so we might have to switch it up, or Paul will just have to be gone for the foreseeable future. We'll see what happens, but he's gone this week. We'll see what happens for next week, but we have a pretty fun episode, if you want to call it that, ahead. We're finishing up our Halloween marathon, and this time I actually did it. So, I don't know. Give 3 cheers for me in the comments or something. Yay, we did it. So, what we will be talking about The Witch, The Empty Man, and Us. 3 movies that are actually very different. I guess 3 different genres. And I didn't really plan on that, but it did kind of work out that way, which is nice. So we'll talk about that. But before we get into that, we need to talk about the news that is, I guess, gaming and movie related, that Nintendo just announced that they're working on a live action Zelda movie with no fanfare. Like Shigeru Miyamoto, I don't know, on the official Nintendo Twitter account, it said, "Hey, Shigeru Miyamoto here," but I don't think he actually got control of the Twitter. I'm sure he just sent a statement over to whoever ran it or whatever. Basically, just confirming that it is in development, and we do have who is, I guess, the main people attached. We have director, writer, producer, and also distribution company, which I think is kind of interesting because it's not Universal, which is who distributed the Mario movie with Illumination, obviously. So this is a live action one, not animated. So I guess that does kind of squash those rumors that there was going to be an animated Zelda movie done by Illumination to bed, because it's going to be live action. But I will say, everyone attached has almost exclusively made mid content throughout their entire career. So I'm not hopeful for this movie at all. But I guess we'll start with the director. Director is Wes Ball. I think the only thing he's really done is he made the Maze Runner movies.
Yes.
Yes, everyone remembers the Maze Runner movies.
The Hunger Games era.
Yes, teen dystopia.
Yes, I believe that's the correct terminology.
Yes, whereas Hunger Games and Maze Runner and Divergent.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on in the early 2010s where every teenager wishes it was the end of the world, and dystopian games are a thing. But I guess he took advantage of it. That's what got him his career. He is currently also in development of the new Planet of the Apes movie. I don't remember what it's called. But frankly, Matt Reeves is not attached to it, I don't think. And he's the one who made, I don't want to say the original Planet of the Apes trilogy, because that's not true, because there's 8 Planet of the Apes movies made in the 60s and the 70s. But he made the ones in the 2010s or whatever, and then went on to make the Batman, and I think he is currently working on the Batman 2 or whatever they're going to call it. So not really hopeful for that either. But we also got who is set to write the script, and that is Derek Connolly, who wrote all of those Jurassic World movies and Detective Pikachu. So still not looking great.
Great stuff.
This is the most mid roster you could ever pick for a Legend of Zelda
It's safe.
movie. It's very safe. I mean, say what you want about those Jurassic World movies. I don't know if all of them were successful. I know that the first one was very successful. I think the last one maybe wasn't.
Yeah, that one bombed, I think.
I think so. But I mean, I don't think any of them were really great. I saw the first one, and I don't know. I saw it before I saw the original Jurassic Park, so I don't have very many fond memories of it, really. But yeah, Derek Connolly also wrote the Colin Trevorrow script for the original Star Wars Episode 9 before J.J. Abrams took it over after Rian Johnson Last Jedi stuff happened. And that script it was the weirdest script. I recommend, because it's out there. You can find like snippets of it, and people have kind of put together the whole script. It is wild. In the script, it literally says like General Hux looks on in disbelief. He lost the Star Wars. And it's like, why the hell is that in this? I know it's not actually going to be said. Like, it's not a line of dialogue. It's just scene direction. But why the hell would you have that in your script? He lost the Star Wars. It's like a joke that the whole like joke where like people will insert the name of the movie into like a line of dialogue from the movie. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, it's kind of like that. But yeah, I don't think I've read that whole script, but it is wild of what I've seen. So I'm not sure how that's going to go. I guess we'll finish talking about this roster, and then we'll give thoughts, I guess. But we also have the producer, or main producer, and that is Avi Arad. Sorry if I am mispronouncing it. He is okay. So he's kind of he's almost exclusively done superhero movies, and not really new ones. I mean, kind of new ones, but not the big ones. So he did like the OG pre-MCU Marvel movies. So like the original Hulk movies and like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies, like Elektra. I think he did Blade and Blade Trinity. So like, pre Jon Favreau, pre Kevin Feige, whatever, all those like pre Marvel movies. I think he did like the original Fantastic Four movies too. But then recently he's been doing the Marvel movies for Sony. So like Venom, Morbius, and then the Spider-Verse movies. So he's pretty much only done superhero stuff. And then so that's the guy who's putting it all together, and it's being produced for Sony Pictures, which in my humble opinion is a pretty mid studio. Which, I mean, at this point I don't trust Nintendo at all to make, I guess, just any good decisions just in general, but especially when it comes to like movies, it's like, we're going to partner with like just the most successful studio. They don't even make like really good stuff. It's just like they make money. So we'll team up with them. And then these people have all made stuff that was successful at one point. I mean, I don't know if the Maze Runner movies were especially successful, but Jurassic World at least was. And I don't know. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that this is the wrong team for a Legend of Zelda movie. Frankly, I am pretty I'm against most video game adaptations into either TV or movies. I think they're almost always doomed for failure. And also, I also kind of have like an ethical gripe with the whole practice where it's like it kind of discredits video games as a medium for the like movie or TV version of that story to be the definitive version. And that's not to say that there haven't been good video game adaptations. There's been exactly one, and it is the Last of Us show.
Sonic.
It's Sonic the movie.
Last of Us is basically already a show, though. Before
Yeah,
it was even a show.
that's true. Which I feel like you could say about, I mean, at least like most modern Naughty Dog things. But we were also shown that they tried to do that with Uncharted. Didn't work. So I don't know. Because that movie is basically, or that game is just an Indiana Jones movie, but with Nathan Drake instead of Indiana Jones. But yes, so I think I am against video game adaptations in general, mainly because I think I am such a champion for video games as a medium. I think there is a lot of great stuff going on in the video game scene these days, especially when it comes to the capabilities of storytelling through the medium. Has It's only been about, I don't know, 10 or 15 years that any sort of like genuine story could be told in a video game. I mean, like, if we go back to even like the N64, you'd be pretty hard pressed to find any sort of good story there. Like, passable stories, sure, but like mostly just boiled down to X person got kidnapped, let's go save them. At least in terms of console gaming. PC stuff tended to be a little more, I don't want to say matured, but they had just more capabilities in what they could tell, especially in like RPGs, like the original Fallout games or stuff like that. So, or Deus Ex, there you go. Two good story games from the olden days. But now I feel like you can really tell a great story through a video game, and I feel like we've definitely seen that with like The Last of Us or Uncharted 4, or even something that is kind of sneakily really good at it, like Celeste. I feel like is phenomenal in how it tells its story. It isn't just like all cutscenes like Uncharted and Last of Us are, even though I respect that way to do it too. It's more cinematic, it's just different. But yeah, so I don't know. This definitely isn't the right move. And also, Zelda is a hard one to adapt because there's too many stories. You get two main pitfalls here. And this is someone coming from someone who's a really big Zelda fan. You're either going to adapt one of the games, which you should not do. Don't do that. If that is the idea that is floating around right now, that is the wrong one to do. Although I think it is the safer option to pick, because those games tend to have more robust stories, have characters with dialogue and stuff like that. There is cutscenes, like in Ocarina of Time, there are cutscenes. So you could just adapt Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess or something like that, and then you could get, that's a guaranteed market. That's more of like a guaranteed IP than just the Legend of Zelda name, because people recognize Ocarina of Time. It's one of the most famous video games of all time. So you could just plaster that on a poster, just make it a live action adaptation of that, although it would be garbage. I feel like that would be pretty safe. But also, you could just do your own thing, make another Zelda incarnation or whatever, put it somewhere in the convoluted Zelda timeline, and that's also going to be trash because I don't feel like any person attached to this, as it stands right now, understands what makes Zelda special. Because by adapting Legend of Zelda, you have to basically, yeah, you have to make Link talk, which has never happened unless you count the
Except
CDI
the TV.
games. The TV show. Excuse me, princess. But in terms of like officially licensed Nintendo stuff, that has never happened for a good reason. I personally am of the belief that the silent protagonist is often the way to go when it comes to video games. Not always, but I feel like if you don't know how to write a strong protagonist, just do the silent one. Because I've seen way too many protagonists in video games just be like the most milk toast white guy that has no personality. So like just shut up. Just let me play the game. That is what I want. And that's kind of what Zelda is. You never see him talk. The only voice acting that is ever done for Link is just yeah, yeah, stuff like that.
I'm saying is Chris Pratt better be Link, otherwise I'm not watching it.
I don't know. That's the thing. People have been like fan casting it already. And I guess we could do that too, but I don't know. Off the top of my head, I haven't really thought about it.
Okay. I want Timothy Chalamet to be Link, and I want what's her face? Last Night in Soho.
Oh, Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, I want her to be to be Zelda. I want just like the stupidest cast you could possibly get. Like indie film level cast for like the most basic Zelda movie in the world.
Yeah, that's true. Well, here's the thing. I think Timothy Chalamet actually kind of looks like Link. Like if you gave him the hair, like I could see that. He has like kind of Elvis like features. I don't know. I don't know who I would cast. Like genuinely, like if I'm trying to like pick a really good person for all of the main characters. Well, I feel like I could get a really good Ganondorf. I keep fan casting Ron Perlman and things just because I really like him and he just looks
I
evil.
want Ron Perlman to be Link.
Now that's a good movie.
And then Timothy Chalamet is like the bad guy.
It's Ganondorf.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Ganondorf should be the guy from Money Plane.
Ooh. Edge.
Edge, which he's back. Did you see he's back?
No.
Oh, he was back on WWE.
I feel like those guys always do that until they die.
That's true. Yeah, The Rock.
It's like they
is
have
back
their
too.
little movie scenes and then they'll come back for like 3 matches and then they'll leave again.
Well, yeah, you can't damage the
So I
money.
think John Cena did that too now.
Yeah, I think John Cena and The Rock were both on like
Yeah.
the same episode or whatever. Yeah, who would I cast as Zelda? Probably Nicole Kidman.
Ooh.
I don't know. I don't know. Who would I pick? Well, if they were not cowards, they would cast Tilda Swinton.
That would be awesome.
That would be a great pick. But that would have to be like Twilight Princess Zelda, where like she's a little bit
Yeah.
older. It isn't like I feel like most Zeldas these days are like younger, like teenage Zelda, and like the adaptations they've been doing. Actually, I don't know how old the Breath
I
of the
just want a
Wild
Wes
2 came.
Anderson cast, but not Wes Anderson directing.
Man, out of that, who would you even? Owen Wilson as Link?
Yes. He's got the hair.
Yeah, that's pretty much all he's got.
And all he's known for is making noises. So I think it's a
Oh,
good
that's
fit.
true. You could do Jeff Goldblum too.
Ooh. I want Jeff Goldblum to be the little fairy guy that I'm forgetting the name of right now.
Oh, Navi.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh, listen.
I found out there's some happenings going on down at the Castle Ganondorf. Just that would be like the most seductive
That'd
fairy
be
in the whole
great.
world. I would like that.
I'm thinking of like this is gonna like end up looking like a Smosh video. That's what I want it to look like. Just like some actor in a blonde wig with like a really bad green outfit.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, yeah. That's the thing. I don't know how they're going to do the visual style of this. I mean, it's live action. I don't know if it's going to be like live action in the way that like those Avatar movies are live action, but I don't know. I don't know. Also, like Sony is not the biggest studio. Like they don't have like, the most resources. Also, it's kind of weird. Wait, I just thought about this right now. It's so weird that Sony is making a Nintendo movie when Sony has video games.
Yeah, that's Sony as a studio is strange.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird that like this company that makes VCRs makes movies and video games and all this stuff. Because that's all I think about when I think of Sony. I think of the VCRs they make. Really great VCRs, but VCRs nonetheless. So, yeah, that's all we know about the Zelda movie so far. I think Shigeru Miyamoto is set to produce also, but sure, I guess. I don't think he's been really a part of the Zelda thing since Zelda 2, maybe. I don't even think he was in like Link to the Past, like the SNES one. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I'll keep you posted on all of the Zelda happenings because I'm a pretty big Zelda nerd. But yeah, as of right now, I'm not even cautiously optimistic. I am just this is going to be mid, and I'm dreading the day I see on-set photos for how anyone looks in this movie, really. Like, I don't trust anybody doing like really good production design for this. I don't know. We'll see. I'm just
I
very
can
weird.
very much see this being a live action Avatar movie looking thing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. Where it's just like all on green screen.
Yeah,
Someone
very gray.
someone suggested it was going to be like a Polar Express thing where it was all mocap, but
Oh
I don't think that counts as live action. And they
no,
specifically said it was live action, so I don't know. But
I would have liked to seen Shyamalan as a director.
would you?
Yes.
I was thinking
Because
about
then there's like a 50-50 chance of it being like either god awful or like decent enough where it's passable. It
yeah.
would be entertaining nonetheless.
I think okay. I think Shyamalan these days might do it, but like I don't know. I feel like he thinks he's too good for video games. And I realized
Maybe.
that he did a cartoon show adaptation, but like these
That was
days
his
he's
worst movie. So
well, yeah, that's true. And he hasn't really done anything since then. He's adapted other works. Like I think Knock in the Cabin, I think that was a book
yeah.
before it was a Shyamalan hit film starring Dave Bautista and the kid from Harry Potter. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. I'll just say that this is the wrong people to do it. Although I would really have to think about who would make a good fit. It would have to be someone that like understands video games, I think, because I don't know if any of these people do. Like I saw that there was a tweet by Wes Ball in like 2013. It's like maybe as he was making the Maze Runner movies, where it was like, I would love to make a Legend of Zelda movie someday. And people were like, ah, it's prophecy. It's like, I don't know, maybe. We'll see. I don't know. I'm very disappointed. This is basically like you can make a Mario movie and that's fine. Like, who cares? I don't think that the people who are diehard Mario fans really care about the story of Mario because it doesn't really matter. But like Zelda is way more story driven and there's a whole mythos to it. And I could really see a studio messing that up, especially these people that just make big blockbusters. I just don't trust them.
I wish I could just see a movie with a new IP
Yeah, true.
or
That's true.
anything with a new IP.
Yeah, it does seem these days that everything is moving towards everything
We've
needs to be
started to
existing.
monopolize IPs to the point where there's no new content.
Yeah, yeah. Which we will talk about. We're gonna be talking about that with the Halloween stuff because we're gonna be talking about A24 a little bit
Yes.
with what all that's going on there. But yeah, so yeah, it's just very disappointing. The state of everything. There's still good stuff coming out. Like, I think next week I will be watching The Killer by David Fincher. I'll see if it's coming to my theater. It might not be.
I think it's just a He Just Like Me for Real movie.
Oh, for
I think
sure.
it's one of those.
Oh,
yeah.
for sure. Yeah, yeah. But man,
it's gonna be fantastic.
it's gonna be great. Just the wrong people are gonna like it.
Yes, exactly.
But like David Fincher is one of my favorite directors. I love Seven. I love the Zodiac movie's great. Fight Club obviously is fantastic. I haven't seen Gone Girl. I think I've seen the first season of Mindhunter, which is a great, great show. So I'm very excited for his new movie. I still have not seen Killers of the Flower Moon. I was going to see it this week, but things got really busy. I barely finished watching all of the movies for this marathon. I finished The Witch an hour ago. So barely. I barely did it. So I'm glad that I at least finished those for the marathon. I'll probably see Killers of the Flower Moon on Netflix. I'm not sure if I'm going to see it in theaters at this point just because it's a limited release. I don't know how long it's going to be there. And it's 4 hours, and that's a long time. So, not sure. I don't even know if I'm going to see it, honestly, because that is a lot of time, and I'm busy. So maybe by the end of the year I'll watch it in time for our like year-end podcast thing, where we give our top movies and games and albums is going to be on the main channel. But we'll see. But I will be seeing The Killer this weekend if possible, because I have this weekend off because I'm getting my picture taken for me, not for me. My girlfriend, one of her friends is a photographer, and we're getting close on our 1 year anniversary. So she wanted to get pictures taken. So we're doing that this weekend. But I'll see it on Saturday. So there's that. Let's start talking about spooky horror movies in November. These are very scary movies. Not really.
Not scarier than Mariah Carey.
Is Mariah Carey scary?
I'm terrified every time November 1st hits.
Oh, that's true.
She plays into it now too, or she like baits it too. She's like, it's almost here.
Yeah. I'm not looking forward to that. I've not heard the song yet this year.
I haven't either, but I know it's coming.
It's coming for sure. But yes, we will be talking about the modern era where we've finally arrived. So we're going to be talking about The Witch, an A24 horror movie. It's kind of hard to talk about horror movies of the modern era without talking about A24, which we aren't going to be talking about Hereditary or Midsummer because I have seen those movies. We're going to be talking about one of their more artsy ones. And then we're going to be talking about Us, Jordan Peele, also kind of hard to talk about horror in the modern age without talking about at least Get Out. But I would say Us is up there. It's really good. And Nope. I'm not such a big fan of Nope. I liked it well enough.
I
but
love Nope.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, I don't want to speak too.
I just like westerns.
Is it a western?
I would classify it as a western.
A modern western, sure.
Yeah.
He's a cowboy. Well, I guess they're both cowboys. Wait, is she a cowboy? Is Keke Palmer a cowboy, or does she just like work for like the studio or like the business of sending the horses there? It's been a while. I've been seeing some people dress up as the monkey for Halloween.
That's awesome.
Which honestly I didn't get because it's just like a person in like jorts and a striped shirt with blood on it. And I'm like, are you Chucky? Like, what is this? But it was the monkey from Nope. So, yes, Us. Jordan Peele, very important in modern horror scene. And The Empty Man. The Odd One Out. It's just a movie that came out 2 years ago. Well, 3 years ago now, 2020. It's been way long enough in the year that I shouldn't be making that mistake anymore. It's almost 2024 now.
God.
Yeah, whoops. But I think it does represent a very specific niche that modern horror movies have fallen into with really weird connections. There's two movies specifically that I think of when I think of The Empty Man, but we'll get there when we get there. I think we'll start with the oldest movie here, which is The Witch. I think it came out in 2015. Speaking of Zelda fan cast, this is Anya Taylor-Joy's first movie, or I guess first big movie in a leading role. She's 18 years old. I don't know if she's supposed to be that old in the movie, but she was 18 years old when they filmed it. It's an A24 horror movie, and this is not an Ari Aster A24 horror movie. It's actually a Robert Eggers A24 horror movie, which is the guy who did The Lighthouse and The Northman, and upcoming Nosferatu remake, supposedly. I don't know if that's still happening. But yeah, I think this was his first breakout kind of role or movie too, which is very interesting. It's a very small scale movie, which I think A24 horror movies tend to be, all kind of taking place in one setting. The only other A24 movie besides the Ari Aster ones that I'm familiar with is Lamb, which is a horror movie about, it's kind of like if Eraserhead happened in Nazi Germany for some reason.
That's all that movie needed.
I know that when I saw Eraserhead, I'm like, man, the one thing that was missing was Nazis. Yeah. Although you could argue it's all dystopian. It could have been all Nazis. I don't know. But yeah, that one's like these two parents are trying to have a kid and nothing's happening. And the mom eventually becomes pregnant and gives birth to a half human, half lamb hybrid. And then they have to hide it from the Nazis, I think.
Classic.
It's a classic premise, you know. You've seen that story done 1,000 times before.
Children's books have done it.
Of course, yes. And The Witch is kind of similar. It all takes place in one cabin. It takes place in ye old New England, 1630. So everyone talks in Old English. There's a lot of these and I's and there's actually a conjunction that I'd never heard before where it is contracted into it's or no, not it is it. I think it's is it is it's, which I guess is kind of confusing, but yeah, it's kind of interesting because everyone is doing a kind of old English accent, which is impressive because, well, the younger kids I think are doing a contemporary British accent. It's because it's kind of hard to teach that accent to probably like 7 or 8 year olds. Like, I don't, you can maybe get them to do a British accent, but anything other than that is probably pretty difficult. But it takes place olden days. Basically, the father gets banished from like a kind of, I guess, settlement. I think it's called like a plantation, but it's just like an old town. We briefly see it in the very beginning where there is a pretty decent sized group of people. I was more interested in this part than any other thing because this is like a very fascinating part of history for me. This kind of first contact between the like North European settlers and native North Americans. Like there's just like briefly the shot as they're being banished of like two Native Americans walking in, and I'm like that. I mean, there are movies about that, but like I would rather be watching that movie than this movie, honestly, because then they're just banished to a cabin, and it like cuts to like a year later, I think, and they have like they're a little settled. They have a field, but everything kind of sucks. And there's a witch. She's very scary. She kind of looks like the monster at the end of Barbarian, where it's just a naked old woman, and that's very
The
scary.
scariest thing.
It's the scariest thing I've ever seen. Yeah, she just like it's kind of jarring because I thought this movie was going to be a whole lot more grotesque than it was, because like the movie starts and then like there's like five kids. There's like the oldest, which is Anya Taylor-Joy, like 18, and then there's a brother who's like maybe early teenager, and then there's twins that are like 7 or 8 year olds, and then there's a baby. And so then Anya Taylor Joy is watching the baby, and suddenly it disappears. And then we cut to the baby like naked on like a table, and the witch is like over it. And I'm like, it looked like the witch had an erect penis. There was just one shot, and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. What is this movie doing? It better not be doing what I think it's going to do. But it didn't do that. Luckily, she just pounded the baby into a mush. She had like a
That's
butter, she had a butter churn, and she was just like churning like the baby's, I don't know, like carcass into like a big mush, and then she was rubbing the blood all over herself. And I'm like, okay, thank God. You know, oof, I almost thought that that was going to be really bad.
Hillary Clinton POV.
Oh. So, you know, luckily just the baby dies, so that's fine. But as you can imagine, the mom is just a wreck, and she blames the older daughter. And then, you know, just it kind of becomes kind of like the Crucible, because I mean, it's kind of hard not to draw that comparison when it's like the same time period and both of them have to do with witches and also a little bit of math hysteria. Because like the older brother, I don't know, middle brother, I guess, he gets taken by the witch, and then he's found like naked, and then like he starts like chanting and like seizing and doing all sorts of weirdo stuff. And then like the twins pick up that behavior and they also start doing those things, but like it's clear that like they aren't under any sort of spell. They're just like under this kind of like mass hysteria thing. So it's kind of like the Crucible, where like all those girls like all start like feeling these like, I don't know, symptoms of witchcraft or whatever. So there's like little elements of that.
I
But
love how these settlers like kick out all the native peoples and then they just absolutely lose their minds.
yeah, yeah,
Just shenanigans ensue.
shenanigans definitely
Like,
ensue.
this is your past? Really?
Yeah,
You were
yeah,
burning people at the stake for random things.
yeah.
We're kicking out the savages, but also
But,
you're a witch.
but you're a witch and you're the problem. But it's also it's interesting because like the dad gets kicked out of that plantation because he has like I guess radical religious beliefs. But like when we see those, it seems like I don't know. At least like it it seems like it would be like contemporary to that time where like they pray all the time, they observe the Sabbath, all sorts of like stuff like that. So I don't know exactly why what his religious beliefs differ, and maybe that's you have to have like extra knowledge of like what exactly this sort of like what the Puritans actually believed because everyone's wearing those goddamn pilgrim hats. Which, yeah, I will say production design a little weird because everybody's wearing pilgrim hats except for the guards who are wearing Spanish conquistador helmets. And I'm like, that's like 300 years
Wrong.
too late.
Yeah.
And yeah, wrong nation. And then like the Native Americans that we very briefly see are I don't know if I want to say stereotypical because it could genuinely be like how the tribes around this area looked, but like feather in the hair and like the ponytail, and then they aren't wearing a shirt, and then they're just wearing like some sort of like hide pants. And so I'm like, I don't know, like that part's a little weird. I'm like, what's going on there? And maybe it's because, I have a degree in history. So like I kind of know how these people looked and generally at this time what they would have looked like. So maybe that's just a me problem. Maybe I should just be like Ridley Scott when people are pointing out historical inaccuracies in Napoleon, where he just says, get a life, which I kind of agree with, kind of don't.
Because
Because,
I don't agree with that. If you're
yeah,
making a historical movie,
if you're making a historical movie about Napoleon,
yeah,
arguably one of the most influential people in European history, you should probably make that pretty historically accurate. Especially if it's like a historical epic.
especially since
So,
people don't read books no more.
no, that's true. That's true. I don't know. Also, this is Ridley Scott we're talking about. This is weirdo dude. So, well, I'm not gonna see Napoleon anyways. I was gonna maybe see it because Joaquin Phoenix is Napoleon, and I love Joaquin Phoenix, but I don't know. Ridley Scott's a weird guy. I don't know. Back to the witch, I guess. I don't want to give too much of the story away because that's pretty much all this movie has, but it is after like that initial shock of like the baby being ground to a pulp and then the witch covering herself with blood, which don't get me wrong, is very shocking. Like I was not expecting this movie to start like that. And then it kind of like lulls for like an hour, which I will give the movie this. It is like exactly an hour and a half long. We love to see that. Don't every movie doesn't need to be 3 hours and 46 minutes. Martin Scorsese. I don't know. I'm sure that movie's deserving of that time, but I will take an hour and a half, little digestible, little witch horror movie over that any day. So it lulls for like about an hour, and then things kind of escalate at the end when the brother is like found. But like most of the movie is just like people talking in Old English, and the mom is blaming the daughter for everything, and the dad is like kind of a failure at pretty much every like he can't grow crops, and maybe it's because like the soil is bad, but he just basically sits around and chops wood all day, and they have like giant pile of wood behind their house, and it's like, dude, you don't need to be chopping anymore, you have plenty of wood, you don't need to do that right now. There's plenty of other things you could do. So yeah, it's just like a whole thing of that. And then like the witch shows up at the end, and then there's a big twist ending, I guess. I don't know, not really that big of a twist. But yeah, I thought this movie was fine, but I mean, I wasn't like bored. It wasn't like a boring movie, but like not a lot happened. So I don't know. It was fine. And then I guess, yeah, we're going chronologically. So next up, this one was my favorite, and it's Us. Us, very good movie. I think Jordan Peele sometimes gets some criticism. I think one of the biggest criticisms I've seen of his is that a lot of his stuff is so allegorical that sometimes if you poke the story, if you're like trying to examine the story as a story, sometimes it falls apart because it is so allegorical to you know, what like the message he's trying to get across, which I don't agree.
Lynch film.
Huh?
Like a David Lynch film.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of. But I don't see that with the Jordan Peele. I mean, maybe with Us a little bit. But like Get Out, like that's a compelling story. Like the societal message that goes along with that isn't like just there as set dressing, like it is integral to the plot. Like you can't examine that plot and the allegory as separately, like they are completely one and the same. Us, I feel like, is a little different because I feel like this one is the most cut and dry allegorical thing. It's not like, at least in my opinion, it's not exclusively a race thing. It's more a class thing, which is interesting. I feel like because Get Out is like almost exclusively a race thing, I feel like a lot of people associate Jordan Peele with making like race-based horror movies. And I mean, I think maybe some of that is that like all of his movies have black leads, but like I don't know, maybe just Get Out, because I don't think Nope really has any like race things in it, really. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But yeah, I feel like the main premise of Us, everybody knows, where everybody has like a duplicate. They're called tethered. And basically, the movie starts with like a little blurb where it's like there are, you know, hundreds and hundreds of miles of tunnels underneath like the earth. Some of them are like abandoned subway things, abandoned sewers, but some of them have like no discernible purpose. And so then like that kind of leads into the premise where the tethered live in these underground tunnels, and they are basically, they live their entire lives as their duplicates do, but just like worse and kind of like scarier. Because I think it's kind of established that it's like a government, it was like a government experiment into like cloning people. But basically they could clone people, but those cloned people were like sharing a soul with the like main person that was cloned. And because they were sharing it, the person who was originally there like kind of always had it. So the tethered kind of act strangely. They don't have any like sort of humanity to them. They are just living representations of what is physically happening above them that their tethered is doing. So we see like at the beginning of the movie, the main character and her parents are on like a boardwalk, and they are like going around doing all the carnival games and stuff. And later on we see that exact scene play out, but through the tethered's eyes, and like it's just weird and creepy. Everyone's like moving erratically, and some of that is that they aren't making their own decisions. They're just being like puppeteered by the real people above them. And so then one day, the tethered come up from above their tunnels, basically rising up, and they are trying to kill their duplicates, or the main people that they are duplicates of, to get their soul back. So that is the main premise of it. And there's a very interesting like speech when the main character's duplicates show up, where, and this is why I think this is more class, or more specifically kind of maybe like Americans being like a privileged group of people, and then like out like people in, I guess, the quote unquote like third world, like rising up and getting theirs from the American people, is kind of the vibe I'm getting, where it's like the main character, like the Lupita's duplicate, kind of goes on like this thing where like she like lives in the shadows, and she didn't like, it didn't matter whether or not she wanted to like marry her husband, because her duplicate married her husband's duplicate. And like, while her duplicate gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, she gave birth to a monster that like wouldn't stop laughing. And then the duplicate gave birth to a son, and a very beautiful baby son. And I gave birth to I think his name is Pluto, and he just loves to burn things. So just like everything is just like a warped and worst version of like the duplicate's version. And like she ends the speech with like, because I think one of the like original family members like is like, "What are you?" And she's like, "We are Americans." So it's kind of like how I interpret this. And I don't know, I have not really read anything about the behind the scenes, what Jordan Peele intended here, but like it kind of was like how like the picturesque American nuclear family has this like perfect life. They have very privileged lifestyles, and then they compare that to like a family growing up in a less privileged area and watching and seeing the American way of life, and how it's similar to how they have it, but they obviously have it much worse. And some of that is based on, capitalism and class and racism, and like all of that is obviously a factor, but it's I don't know. This one is the most allegorical, I feel like, where it's like, okay, now the tethered are rising up and taking over the above ground world from the Americans. And yeah, it's very, very interesting. And I will go into the ending twist maybe, if you're okay with it, James. If you're,
I suppose.
okay, because it does go
Probably
into,
forget it by the time I watch the movie, anyways.
okay, I did know the twist going into it, and it didn't really affect how I viewed the movie, because basically the twist is that Lupita, as a young girl, encounters her tethered on that boardwalk. They somehow meet up, and it is revealed that the tethered and the original switch places. The tethered version basically like kidnapped younger Lupita, and then like stole her clothes, and then went above ground and became Lupita, which basically insinuates that there is no difference between the tethered and the above ground people. It's just circumstantial. It's just like, because the tethered was above ground and had access to different means of expressing themselves and being in control of their life and their circumstances, they were able to achieve success and have a prosperous life. Meanwhile, the original Lupita, who is not a born tethered, is somehow twisted into becoming a tethered to become this. I don't even want to say like a monster, but she is kind of the way that she acts, like she talks all scary and it's I don't know. I'm not smart enough to be talking about this. But basically I feel like it's insinuating that there is no difference between the upper class people and the lower class people. It's just how they were brought up. And it's very good. I really liked this movie. There's so much I didn't get into because I feel like a lot of the enjoyment of this movie is just watching it because there's a lot of like twists and turns, a lot of exciting moments. Tim Heidecker is in it.
Yo.
Always great to see him. It's great. He plays because I think both families are like upper class people. Like they have like a lake house and like they're at their vacation home, but like the I guess the main characters are like a little bit less. I don't know. They're still upper class, but they're not as rich as I guess Tim Heidecker's family is, and they're like way more privileged. And it's funny because like Tim Heidecker is such a jerk to everybody in this movie. Like he just treats everybody like dirt. And like even his friends who like are this main character family, like he's just like, oh, you got a boat, that's great, you got to get all the essentials. Did you get life preservers? Okay, nice, you got the life preservers. Did you get some like life vests? You got to make sure you got life vests. Okay, good, you got life. Did you get a flare gun? I knew you didn't get the flare gun, you stupid idiot. It's just like he's just an asshole. And I feel like Tim Heidecker is great for that.
He's perfect.
He's perfect. I always love like Tim Heidecker is in a lot of stuff, and I love whenever he shows up because I don't know, he's just great. He's great. He has a great comedic talent. So I thought that was kind of cool, and it wasn't like an overtly comedic role, which I thought was cool because Jordan Peele and Tim Heidecker kind of have. I don't want to say similar arcs because Tim Heidecker is not really making any sort of high art drama. He's just giving a serious role here, which is really fun. So if you've not seen Us, I would recommend it, even though I did give away the ending. So sorry about that, but it is still worth it. I knew that Lupita was a tethered the whole time. I don't remember how I found that out, but honestly, it made the whole thing way more compelling knowing that. But that's that. It's also not scary. Like there's like no jump scares in the whole thing. So if you're worried about it because of that, I would say Get Out is scarier than Us.
That's why I hate trailers.
Yeah, the trailer for it was completely misleading. The trailer for Nope was not misleading. And I don't know. It's just like that trailer was so weird. I was like so hooked. Like, what the hell is happening through this whole thing? But yeah, I don't know. I think he's not due because I think Nope came out last year.
Nope, it's like last year, yeah.
But he should make I think he's making well, I'm sure he's making a new one. His movies are insanely successful, and horror as a genre is generally very profitable because people love being scared. Zooey mama. But speaking of being scared, let's talk about The Empty Man, the 2020 original. Not written. I guess, yeah. Directed by David Pryor. We talked about the original David. I think his name is David A. Pryor. I think is his dad. which if you want to scream Nepo baby, I would maybe watch any David A. Pryor movie. They're all Z level trash that are just knockoffs of bigger movies. So I don't know if his dad's name really had any sort of pull, especially in this scene, kind of indie art house horror. Yeah, this one is, I don't know. I think it's a perfect 3 out of 5 movie. There's concepts I really like. But I saw something where the director claimed that it was a rough cut, where there are some ideas that are not refined to what they should be. And I would agree. But what it's trying to do is interesting. And there are 2 movies that I feel like are maybe really big inspirations for this movie. I don't know if one of them should be, and one of them we just talked about last week because it is The Ring. I feel like The Ring has a lot of influence on this movie. Also, The Bye Bye Man.
The Bye Bye Me.
There was a lot of parallels to The Bye Bye Man in this movie.
I love The Bye Bye Man.
I don't know if that's intentional. Maybe it's just because the names are similar. The Empty Man and The Bye Bye Man. The Bye Bye Man is the worst title of any movie ever, though.
Absolutely.
But it's a similar thing because the Bye Bye Man, for those who don't know, and I'm assuming that's most people, the Bye Bye Man, I can't even say that and not smile. It's like it's trying to do like the whole like folk story horror thing, like I don't know, like not like Slender Man or like a modern one, but like, turn all your lights off and say Bloody Mary 3 times in the mirror and then a spooky ghost will come get you. Like kind of stuff like that, where it's like dumb, scary stuff you tell your friends when you're kids to get them to be scared. Because the Bye Bye Man is like, if you think about or say the Bye Bye Man, don't say it, don't think it. If you think or say the Bye Bye Man, then he will come and get you. Ooh. Which is why the main character, well, not the main character, but like there's a whole thing in the beginning of the Bye Bye Man where like this guy gets a shotgun and kills his entire family and then kills himself because he found out about the Bye Bye Man and told his family or something. So to prevent the Bye Bye Man from getting them, he kills them and kills himself. It's not a good movie, but this movie's not, I don't know. I feel bad comparing this movie to the Bye Bye Man because the Bye Bye Man is the Bye Bye Man. But this movie is very similar in that it's based on kind of a spooky story to tell your friends to get them scared because this is like the empty man. So it's like if you are on a bridge and you see an empty bottle on a bridge and you think about the empty man and you blow into the bottle, then
These are very specific steps.
it's a very specific steps. But yeah, if you think about him and blow into the bottle in 3 days, the empty, I almost said the Bye Bye Man gets ya, but it's the empty man gets ya. Ooh. But so it's kind of similar to The Ring too, where it's like you do these steps in X number of days you die. Except in this one, it's even more specific where it's like day 1, you see the empty man. In day 1, you hear the empty man. In day 2, you see the empty man.
Smell him.
And day 3, you smell him, but only because he's gonna get ya. Ooh. And also, it's kind of similar to Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one, kind of, where like some of the kills in Nightmare on Elm Street, where the empty man makes it look like suicide or murder, basically not supernatural. We see the empty man at one point like grab a woman by the throat and then stab her face multiple times with the scissors. And then we like cut to her, or I guess like an outsider's perspective, and then like she's like clearly out of it, like choking herself and stabbing her own face with the scissors. So like it's that part I like. That was the kind of stuff I liked in Nightmare on Elm Street, where I'm like, this is the whole like the whole believing other people, believing the victims as a part of the horror, because that's also a really good allegory to today, because there's many horrors in the modern day that people do not believe the victims, which if you want to be extra on the nose, you can make a whole movie about that. But so yeah, it's kind of like that. And also there was a movie I was thinking of that is also kind of similar to, kind of old boy, kind of, oh, there's another movie. And maybe if I explain the twist, then maybe it'll come to me. But this movie is also similar to The Ring because it is it's like an investigation movie, and the main guy does the empty man thing, and it's like, what is with all these people who are investigating thing that will kill you, and then they do the thing that kills you? Because the chick in The Ring watches that damn VHS tape, and this guy goes on a bridge and blows the bottle and thinks about the empty man, which I don't even know what that means. How do you think about the empty man if you don't know what he looks like or what he is? Are you just thinking about the name Empty Man? Or what?
That's like the Bye Bye Man thing. Like if someone says it, you're thinking it technically.
Yeah, that's true. It's like if someone like says you are consciously breathing or whatever,
Yeah,
then
you're
like,
gonna do that.
then yep, subconsciously I just do that now. Sorry for everyone who's watching the podcast who I just did that to. But yeah, so it's just kind of weird. It's kind of the Bye Bye Man thing. But the main guy is like a retired cop, and his neighbor slash
One last case.
one last case, pretty much. But it's, oh man, I can't think of what other movie this reminds me of. I feel like it's an older movie, kind of Rosemary's Baby. More Old Boy than Rosemary's Baby. It's gonna come to me probably, or maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, the old guy, not old guy, he's just middle aged guy. Oh man, it just came to me. Frick. Oh God, I can't think of it. This is gonna drive me crazy. But yeah, he's investigating it because his neighbor slash ex lover, his or her daughter disappears, and she writes in blood on the mirror, "The empty man made me do it." And so then he's like, what is the empty man? So
It's
then
like a TikTok trend.
yeah, pretty much. Like that's what I'm saying. This movie is like, some parts of it are really good and some parts are like weird and cringy kind of. Because then it like kind of devolves into like, it's not devolves, but it turns into like a really solid investigation movie where like he's investigating the empty man, and there's this whole cult that is like, I guess kind of worships the empty man and can like kind of talk to him, which the empty man is kind of like a double. It's a double entendre. I don't really know. It's kind of a double entendre. I don't know if there's a word for it. But basically the empty man is the guy who is killing people. He's like a big ghost guy. But also they communicate to the empty man through like, I guess like medical vegetables, who are like, people who have like basically no consciousness, who are basically being kept alive through like life support. They can communicate to the empty man through empty men.
Ah,
Yes, it's
see.
a very smart movie. And then yeah, so like most of it's like investigating this cult, which is kind of fun. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of cult movies, but I will say that like one of my favorite horror movies, Hereditary, is a cult movie. Kind of. Yeah, it is. It's a cult movie, but the cult isn't really there until the end. It's kind of like my favorite Kubrick movie, Eyes Wide Shut, except not at all. There's no
The
sex
best one.
orgy. There's no big orgy in this movie, unfortunately. But yeah, so it's kind of fun. It's a big investigation, but then like the twist is that like the daughter is found because this guy finds an empty man in a hospital, and he like goes there and the daughter is there, and she basically it's frick. Like I keep like it keeps coming in like flashes and I can't think of what it is. But the daughter, she's like, I've programmed you from the beginning. Oh, BioShock. That's not a movie, but it reminds me a lot of BioShock. I don't know if I want to spoil BioShock. Can I spoil BioShock? Is that
That game
fine?
is so old.
Okay. I'll explain why it reminds me a lot of BioShock after I explain the movie. I'm just glad that I thought of it. Because she's like, I've programmed you from the beginning. Like, when is your birthday? Like, where were you born? What hospital were you born? And as he's saying it, she's saying it at the exact same time. And then like he starts like flipping out. Like he is like he's starting to lose consciousness, and it's like clear that like he's going to be the replacement for this empty man, so they can keep talking to the empty man. It's very scary. But yeah, it's so that's that, and then like the movie ends pretty much after that. There's a long like mental hallucination scene where he's battling the empty man, who's a big ghost who has like 10 fingers on each hand. He's a very scary guy. I will say, to the point of like spooky stuff in movies, like one of the scariest depictions of a demon or a ghost or anything was in The Black Coat's Daughter. Just like a big black shadow, like it is like formless, and like that's scary. Like seeing it too much is not scary in my humble opinion. So like seeing the empty man just like chase this guy in like the back rooms of this guy's head, not super scary. But yes, so it's very similar to BioShock, because BioShock, it is revealed that your main character man was being controlled by the main bad guy, who says like, could you go do this for me, would you kindly do that for me, eh? And then every time he says would you kindly, it's actually like a hypnotism where he's making your character do that. But in the context of the game, you're just following an objective marker, but you really don't have any other choice. So it is kind of like a form of hypnotization. BioShock is a very good game, but it's kind of similar to that. This movie is a lot of pieces of other good things, but then kind of hastily put together. I will say, and I didn't bring this up, I should have brought this up at the very beginning, but this movie starts off with like a 20-minute short film, which is really, really good. Because it starts off and it's a bunch of hikers on a mountain, and one of the hikers falls into a pit, and then someone else goes down to like help him and finds that the hiker that fell down is like just like sitting cross-legged with his palms up and just like is staring at like a skeleton in front of him, and the skeleton is also sitting like cross-legged, but like his fingers are interlocked, and he has like 10 fingers like the spooky empty man, and he has like 8 arms. Like kind of reminded me of like Hindu depictions of their gods who they have like 8 arms going like in a circle, kind of. That was kind of the vibe of what that was. And then we see like the empty man thing happen, where like the first night you hear the empty man, on the second night you see the empty man, and then on the third night he gets ya. And it's just like that as like a 20-minute short film, and that worked great. It was awesome. You never really got what was going on, and then it became a movie, and I'm like, oh, well, it should have just been a short film because that short film was really good. So I don't know. It was fine, but I don't know. That was The Empty Man. It's a lot of other things. Go watch any of those movies I talked about except The Bye Bye Man. You don't need to see The Bye Bye Man. I think the best thing about The Bye Bye Man is that they got Doug Jones to be the Bye Bye Man, who's like the weird lanky guy that's in like when he plays like the fawn and frick, what's the guy who has hands on his palms on Pan's Labyrinth? Frickin' I don't remember his name. I just watched that movie like a couple months ago. But you know, he's weird. He's known for playing like weird lanky guys because he is a weird lanky guy. And so like having him be a monster is a good idea, obviously, because Guillermo del Toro did it. But I don't think they gave him much makeup, so he just kind of looks like a spooky guy in a hood with long arms and legs, because that's just how Doug Jones looks. So next week we will be watching The Bye Bye Man. That is required viewing for everybody who listens to the podcast.
Correct.
Correct. I have not seen The Bye Bye Man, but I have seen enough reviews of The Bye Bye Man where I feel like I have seen The Bye Bye Man. So I don't think I need to see it. I'll make everyone else watch it, and we aren't going to talk about it.
That's all I'm at, though.
Oh, sorry. We're going to talk about it next week. Everybody needs to watch The Bye Bye Man. It's really good. A bunch of teens go to a cabin in the woods, and then someone wrote The Bye Bye Man on the underside of like an end table. And then that character says, "Whoa, the Bye Bye Man." And then everything goes scary. And then I think there's a Ouija board scene. I think it's not a good movie, but it's funny because it's called The Bye Bye Man. So pretty good. But I think that will end our horror marathon. Should I have prepared some closing words? Maybe. I didn't.
We learned a lot, or maybe we didn't.
We learned a lot, you know. We learned that the Friday the 13th movies are pretty mad. We learned that old movies are not very scary. And we learned that Jordan Peele makes good movies. I just needed a little extra convincing. I wasn't completely convinced yet with the two movies I had seen. I had to see the third one. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm glad that I did this, but I'm not going to watch any horror movies for the foreseeable future. Probably a month or two. I'm done making my life worse. But I will say, I have not had any trouble sleeping. The only trouble sleeping I have had is because of the 2 minutes of The Conjuring I saw. So, don't know what that says about me. I'm able to watch The Empty Man and be fine, but watching The Conjuring and not be fine.
Just because you haven't seen The Bye Bye Man yet.
That's probably true. Once
That's
I see that
breaks you.
yeah, that one's going to be too scary. Because I think about The Bye Bye Man every day. So I'm going to die. That's the thing about The Bye Bye Man is that he makes you hallucinate. And that's how you die. There's there's a scene in The Bye Bye Man where one of the characters who says The Bye Bye Man hallucinates that they're in like a field, but they're actually in the middle of the street. And then someone else who's said The Bye Bye Man hallucinates they're not being a person in the street, so they just run them over.
Many such cases.
Yes, that's just how life is sometimes.
That's just how life works, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, if you say The Bye Bye Man, that's what happens. Or if you think about The Bye Bye Man. So really, anyone who's listened to this podcast is dead.
Yeah,
which is cool. I do
Anybody
like
that's
that.
ever talked about the movie is dead.
That's right. Anybody who
The
made the
people that
movies.
made the movies, that movie must have been made in less than 3 days because they would be dead.
I think that movie happens faster than the Empty Man does. I think it's like you die immediately after you say the bye bye man.
That's
Actually,
just
I don't know.
really weird.
I don't think that's true. Because they say the bye bye man and then the main character lives for
Yeah,
the
that's
rest
true.
of the movie. But he does get got, I think.
What if you're like deaf?
That's a great question.
Does someone sign the bye bye man to you? And
Well, okay, so this movie. Do we want to talk about the bye bye man and why it's bad?
no,
Okay. Like, because that's the thing, is that this movie, the premise is so bad, where it's like, it doesn't work as like a spreadable disease thing, where like even The Ring is kind of implausible, where there's no way that that VHS tape is getting around that much. I guess it's in a random cabin in the woods, and that's how people find it. Or the Empty Man, you just blow into a bottle, but you have to know about that. But like, if you just say the bye bye man and die, then that's gonna like kill off.
no,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's no like spreading that. You know, if you just say the bye bye man, you may not even know that that's gonna kill you. But I think like
Plus, it's like the most fun name to say. So it's like, how am I not gonna say it?
that's true. I think what the people who made it were thinking is that it's like, well, it's something that no one would ever say, just in
Oh, I'm
casual
gonna say it. I say
conversation.
it all the time.
I, gu- I guess, you know, like hippies in the 70s, hey, you know, bye bye, man.
Exactly.
So someone's probably said it without knowing about the movie. But yeah, I
We're
don't
gonna
know.
end every one of our videos with "Bye Bye Man."
Just
It's the new outro.
perfect. That's great. We'll end our podcast like that. We need a definitive outro and a reference to a movie that came out like
Yes.
6 or 7 years ago is the perfect way to do that. So perfect. But yeah, that's it for the horror marathon. We will be doing more marathons, I think, because I do like this format of having a schedule and having to follow it for the most part. And I think it's good for the viewers. You know, I can get more in depth with the reviews. I can give away spoilers and not feel too bad. And you know, I just like having a schedule. So we'll probably do it, just not anytime soon. Well, we might do one starting in 2024, but for now, I think I just want to do my own thing. But that being said, we are still going to be doing African Cinema Week next week. So for sure, watch Tuki Buki and Black Girl. If I have time, I might check out Cairo Station, but also I do want to see The Killer. So if that comes to a theater near me. So there's that. Those are the movies. If you want to be filled in, they're pretty hard to. I think they might be on the Criterion channel. I don't know if they're on anything else. I know Cairo Station is on YouTube. But yeah, there's you know, nobody knows about these African movies. Well, not nobody, but you know, we'll get into it next week. I'll do some research because I don't know much about them and I don't know why nobody is talking about them, why they aren't on anything. They aren't even on like VOD services. So you might be able to track down a copy at your local library. Maybe do an intra library loan. I know that you can do those in most major cities. I'm not sure. I'm not a librarian. My mom is a librarian, so I should know this.
I come from a long line of
A
librarians.
long line, one librarian. But yeah, I have those on DVD. I got them on the most recent Criterion sale. I haven't seen them yet, so I'm very excited to see them. So we will be doing that next week. I know a little bit about Black Girl. I don't know anything about Tuki Buki. I know very little about Cairo Station, and I know even less about The Killer. So there's that. That is it for me. I'm not going to talk about Spider Man anymore, except next week. I think I will. It's been a month, so I will be talking about story stuff next week with Spider Man 2. But for now, I will not be talking about Spider Man anymore because I talked about it too much last time, and I am embarrassed by how much I care about cosmetics in video games. So that won't come up in the conversation next week at all. I don't know. I can't guarantee that.
It will.
I can't guarantee that. Well, we'll see. We'll see. But for now, let's throw it on over to Babby for whatever he has planned today.
Nothing.
Nothing.
No, there's like one album and it's an EP, and that's it. It's been a slow week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, The Alchemist released something again because why wouldn't he at this point? Uh, this is the fourth for this year, technically. Or is it fifth? It is fifth. Yeah, okay. This is his fifth release this year. Light work, because actually this is pretty on par for his release schedule. I don't know why. He just doesn't stop working.
No.
This is Flying High Part 2. I reviewed the Flying High Part 1 when it came out in June. Then we're back again. He does these little like EP series things. There's not like much of a connection to them as much as I can tell. It's just an EP full of music. But features on this one a lot different. Last one had like Earl Sweatshirt and Billy Woods and Boldy James and Mike and all that. Very different cast here. We got Conway, we got Action Bronson, we got Currency, and Gangrene. I don't know who this person
Like
is.
fever? Like gangrene fever?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
I'm guessing that's what it would be. But yes, so we got 5 tracks here. Again, it's an Alchemist release, so it's going to be a baseline pretty decent. But this one's pretty different in that he is rapping on a lot of these songs.
Oh.
He is known to do this from time to time, but not often. But I guess this is his time where he was like, yeah, I'm going to hop on quite a bit. I haven't really like listened or paid attention when like, or even really knew when he is on a song. Just because the most I get out of Alchemist is like when he does full collab albums with people mostly, and he's never on the mic when he does that stuff. But he sounds exactly like a New York rapper that grew up in the 80s. So, I mean, by that, he's got the typical New York accent, very gritty. I don't know. He has a track with Action Bronson, and they match pretty well, except Action Bronson has such a forward voice and personality that, like, he's just like a very mini Action Bronson. He's a lot quieter. He doesn't have the enunciation level of, like, any of the rappers on this record. So it's not like he's bad on the mic. He's actually holds pretty well. But he's definitely not the shining moment on any of the songs with other rappers on them. Just especially with the one with Action Bronson, it's like he's going and it's fine, and then Action Bronson comes in and it feels like he's like kicking down the door, because it's just like a very stark difference between the two. But they mesh pretty well. So I don't know. It's cool to see him actually do some rapping and stuff. I'm sure when your career is this long and you've done this many things and this many albums, you kind of want to switch it up a little bit. So, big respect for that. And he is holding his own pretty good. Nothing where it's going to be like, ooh, that was a really good line or anything, but it's like, it's good enough where it's like not going to be offensive or stand out as being like, whoa, what is this? But yeah, pretty good. This one's probably more consistent than the first Flying High. The only song I go back to in the first Flying High is the one with Earl Sweatshirt and Billy Woods on it, because that song's pretty great. And then I think Bless with Mike and Sideshow was pretty good too. Those are only 2 I come back with this with the first one, but this one I like the one with Conway. I like the one with Action Bronson. And I like the one with Currency. So, but nothing too big. I I still think the Earl Sweatshirt album is definitely the best thing he's done this year. I didn't listen to the Larry June one with Alchemist. Larry June for me is kind of too. I don't know. He doesn't hit my ear like most Alchemist artists do. But yeah, that's all I listened to this week because that's all that looked interesting. Um, Kevin Abstract released his solo record.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Um, Mixed reviews. It sounds like it's not even a hip hop record at all.
Oh,
It's like a indie like bedroom pop type thing.
really?
Yeah, which is really weird because I feel like when you dissolve your huge boy band known for like this hip hop pop fusion type thing, doing like your first album after that needs to be pretty impactful. So I feel like it should reach as many ears and be like your sound instead of like going off and doing something you haven't really done. But that being said, I haven't listened to it, but I know that the reviews have been kind of shady. I guess BabJab would be the number one resource to go to for the opinions on that.
That's true.
Because I mean, Brockhampton is cool. They're nothing crazy. I know Kevin Abstract's 2019 record was pretty decent. But yeah, I can't speak too much on it, but I saw that come out and I saw that it wasn't doing too hot. And he changed the album cover from like it was something cool. It looked like the "Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared" type characters. It looked pretty cool, and then he changed it to whatever this is, and it's not great. It's just very off-putting.
It looks like someone has a Paul Dano mask on.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
So that came out. Jockstrap also released a remix record to their last year's album. Again, didn't listen to it yet, but I don't know. Remix records are not my favorite thing. I feel like you need to like really do it well for me to even be remotely interested in a remix record, especially when that album is so good by itself. I don't really need remixes of any of those songs. But I think those are the big ones that came out. Apparently, Jungkook released an album, so
Who?
that's cool. Jungkook from
Oh, from BTS.
BTS. Yes, BTS. Yeah, that doesn't seem to be getting good reviews, but I don't know anything there. TK Maidza released a new album too. I still need to check out their music because I feel like it's one of those Australian artists that are just like killing it. Or at least I think they're Australian. Yeah, Australian rap. Might have to dive into that. I don't know. A lot of conversations with like Peggy and stuff, that same kind of lane. So I'm always down for a weirdo stuff like that. So might check that out eventually. But kind of a slow week. I think November 17th is kind of when things start popping off again. So I have the Danny Brown album at least. So I'll be talking about that extensively. Yeah, we're nearing the end of the year, so I'm kind of going back and listening to the stuff I've already listened to this year, so I can put together a firm list for our end of the year video in whatever form that takes on the Boy Time channel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's it. I didn't have anything else prepared.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't remember what we did last year for
We did top 10 last year, and that still
10.
took a long time. So we'll see how we're feeling.
Yeah, I'm not sure. This has been a slower year, I feel
It has
like.
been. There's been some really good stuff. It's just the quantity hasn't been as high.
Yeah, so maybe a fiver
Maybe a
would
fiver.
suffice.
Yeah.
With plenty of honorable mentions.
Yeah. So we did top 10 albums last year, and then we did top 5 albums we reacted to during that year.
Yeah, yeah. I do like that, but I also understand that's a lot of editing.
It is.
So, we'll have to see. We'll see what we decide with that. In terms
I
of
love me some year-end
podcast,
lists, though.
huh?
Do love me some year-end lists,
I
though.
do too. Yeah, this is the time where good movies are coming out. So yeah, I don't know of any other than The Killer. I don't have any others on my list. I'm sure I will be made aware of others. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I have a pretty good list so far of movies. I do need to look back at what games came out this year for that list. And I don't know. I guess, well, albums is going to be pretty easy because we pretty much have all of the new ones documented on our
Yeah.
channel.
Albums are easy. I have not thought about the other categories at all.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, we'll also have, I think, did we count Puss in Boots as last year?
I don't think we did
I don't
because it was
remember.
December, right? I feel like I'm gonna count it as this year.
Okay, because it
I
came
feel
out.
like anything released like December or mid-December is gonna be hard to put on a list for that current year.
Yeah, it was December 21st of last
Oh
year.
yeah, that's it this year.
Okay, I just don't remember what we did last year. I don't remember when we saw it. I guess I can
Hmm.
see because I do have that logged. So let me see when we watched it because it could be that we saw it in January, so we didn't.
I think we did because we saw it all in person, I believe.
We did. We were together, which
Yeah.
does narrow it down. Okay, we saw it January 10th
Okay.
is the date I have. So we would not have had that on our lists. So that's a
Yeah. Fair
possibility.
game.
That's up there.
Great, because I feel like I've only watched 5 new movies that came out this year.
Oh,
So,
perfect. Perfect. Yeah, I'm looking at, let me see, of movies that came out this year. I've not seen very much. From Puss in Boots on, I'm not going to count the short films. I have seen 10, but Cocaine Bear is not going to be on the list.
don't be on mine though.
Oh, well, have you seen it?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not feeling good about this list. Just looking at what's going to be on it.
Yeah. I think
This is a
TV and
shame.
music list will be fine. Movie and video game list is going to be a struggle.
Yes, yes. I'm not sure. I'll have to look at what came out this year. I'm sure I've played more than I think I have, just because I am an epic gamer at heart.
Everybody knows this.
Everybody knows it.
I'm going to put Money Plane on my list again.
How dare you? You put Money
Do my
Plane on your
thing.
list last year and it didn't come out last year.
Yeah, no, I think I put it on there twice too.
I think you did. Or there was another like throwaway one
Yeah, there was.
at 4. Yeah, Money Plane came out in 2020. So it wasn't even, it was July of 2020. It
It's the
wasn't
year
even
I
like,
saw it.
yes, we did watch it
I'm
last
a
year.
little slow.
Yeah. So
It takes a lot for me to turn on a movie.
yeah, I can understand that. I've just gotten into the habit of watching them all the time. So yeah, but it used to be like that. I used to be like that. Now I'm too far gone.
Everything's like 2.5 hours now too. I'm like, I don't want
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I've mostly been watching like 2-hour movies, which are not that bad. In the grand scheme of things, they are not that bad. But we'll see where we go from here in terms of movies I watch. What am I going to watch? I have a couple ideas. I have one idea I'm very excited about that I just have tucked away, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to break it out yet.
Special occasion.
It's a very special occasion. I'm just excited because it's a funny thing I get to say, but I feel like I'm not going to like any of the movies. But if you put
But
all
it'll
of
be
the
a good bit.
titles of the movies together, it's funny. That's the one hint. If you can somehow figure out all 3 movies based on that very vague hint, then I don't know. Good job.
Congratulations.
You'll get a Boy Time t-shirt, which we don't produce.
But we could give you the JPEG and you could make it on Redbubble.
It's a JPEG, not even a PNG.
No.
You're going to have the checkerboard background.
Yes.
That is non-negotiable. And we
It's
won't
part
pay
of our
for
branding.
it. Yeah, we'll just send you an email from our business
Since I'm
account.
the creator, I get to decide what the branding is. So
That's true. That is true. But yeah, I guess that's it for the podcast. Bye-bye, man.